Well, now they made it to step 12. It's time to get busy working with others, right? Actually, my working with others began when I was in my amends process. Ironically, a girl from a recovery meeting, actually PON, um, approached me and asked me if I would take her through the steps. And although that was terrifying to me that I would have that responsibility, she was in a situation that other people had told her no. So she told me to go home and Google her name. And I thought that was a little strange. But she said she had a lot going on. And so to call her after I saw what was going on. So I went home and Googled her name. And sure enough, she had a lot going on. She was facing, she had a DUI. In this DUI, someone died. And so she was facing a lot of court hearings, and a lot of people were angry with her, obviously, for the loss of a loved one and things. So everything in my being said I had to help this girl, even though I felt as if I had zero qualifications, that I would probably do more harm than good. That's what I felt. But everything told me I had to do it. So I told her I would do it. And I called my sponsor to let her know. And she said that was absolutely, I'm not ready. And I should have not agreed to that. However, I did not listen because everything inside me said I have to do whatever I can to help this girl. I mean, so loud, I couldn't deny it. Like every ounce of me. So as I'm going to her court dates and sitting with her and we're going through the steps together, I actually felt like she knew more than I did. And I'd learned so much more from her than I could have ever. I don't even have any idea if she learned anything by sitting with me. But what I learned in that process was it didn't matter what I knew or how confident I was. What it mattered is that I showed up and that I was there. And the rest just kind of organically unfolded. So that was a relief. As we, spent more and more time together, I felt less and less pressure of, who was I kidding? I wasn't in charge of her life. I wasn't responsible for life or death. That was God's job. It was only my job to show up. And then He did the rest. One of the most magical things I got to see in that experience was when she was at her sentencing. She had written a letter to the victim's family and had asked if she could read this letter, and they would not let her read it to them until she was sentenced. So now she knows her fate. She's going to prison for 12 years. Now they said she could read it to them. And she pulled out that letter and read it to the family, looking straight at them, crying her eyes out. And the attorney kept trying to take it and say, let me help you. And she kept saying, no, I have to do this. And I'm on step 8 and 9, right? Like I'm struggling with the nevers, the can't do that. And, and I just watched her do this in, I don't even know how to explain the guts and how do you even have that kind of strength to look at the family whose family member, due to this accident was removed. You know what I mean? Like it was the most powerful thing I've ever witnessed. And all I could think of when I was walking back to the car was, and you're afraid of doing your amends? What is wrong with you? You know what I mean? Like that took some serious guts. That's what an amends looks like. What are you afraid of? So that was what working with others looked like, very first one. So that really motivated me to really how important it is to follow through with that step. A lot of people since that I have worked with never make it to the working with others part. And that's where the real magic comes. That's where the real magic comes. Because then you start getting the healing you didn't even know you needed. You start learning things. Like she showed me faith. She was getting ready to go to prison. She had more faith than I had. Sure, I said I had faith, but I didn't really believe it all. I mean, I tried to believe it, but I didn't know until I saw her faith. I still had a long way to go. I mean, just the things I learned in that one person. So I started taking meetings to treatment centers. I started having commitments that were helping others. And I'm not dogging on commitments in the fellowship, but they're different. Commitments in the fellowship of outings and parties are not as the same as one-on-one interaction. When I was taking meetings to the treatment centers, I don't even know if those people were coherent. Some of them weren't. I'm certain of it. But every time I left that place, I left grateful that that's not where I was at that moment. I knew that feeling of hopelessness, and that's really what I felt in that room. Sheer hopelessness. And I knew that feeling to my core. So every time I left full of gratitude, thinking, thank you, God, for that not being me today. Like, I don't know if I'm doing I don't know if anything else is coming from anything I'm doing. Really, you don't know. You don't know when someone gets a seed planted or you said something. You don't always know. But again, showing up, just showing up, that's the important part. So when I began the mission that we're on today, writing people in prison became a passion that God put in my heart. And I don't know if it had anything to do with working with that young lady, or if it had, I don't know where it came from. It just came. I had this desire to help people incarcerated, not jail, not treatment centers, specifically prison. That it was very clear. That's the direction. And to be able to write them and be a light in that darkness was something that gave me a purpose to wake up every day, to I don't know, be excited about life, because I couldn't wait to write them. I couldn't wait to get their letters. So working with others is the absolute where the magic is.